Ralphie, Ralphie. Ralphie, 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 Ralphie. R-A-L-P-H-I-E, R-A-L-P-H-I-E. Ralphie, 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 Ralphie. Ralphie. Ralphie, 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 Ralphie. Ralphie, 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 Ralphie.
And each week we try to bring you something of import. Today we are meeting with the Smiba. Smiba stands for St. Mark's Independent Block Association. We are here to discuss, one, to offer our condolences to Robin, who has been a pillar in the community in terms of our park and our allegiance to concern with community members and the events in the community. On August the 29th, Robin was walking her two dogs on the periphery of Brower Park. And around 10:30 at night, a pit bull ran from the interior of Brower Park onto the street, attacked and killed her dog and injured Robin. We as a community group, and in particular the Block Association, are here to discuss not only our lament at that event, but also to offer solutions as well as our condolences. Welcome to 1001 Ways to Cope with Stress.
A larger concern, a small concern, owners not in control of the dog, owners not keeping dogs out of places they are prohibited, including playgrounds, spray showers, athletic fields, and courts. So they haven't really modified the form to fit Brower Park at all, and the way in which it's constructed. So in Brower Park, the only areas that are restricted or designated as restricted is the children's playground, and then the skateboard area, that area itself, which also has a children's playground in it. So those are the only two. You can't really restrict the fountain other than through the efforts of owners who keep their dogs away from the fountain. But since there's no constraint, dogs are everywhere, especially in the summer, they're thirsty there. So,
what happened? Someone got killed? Like, I didn't know that.
yes.
The dog? Oh, the dog.
Yeah. So here's that. And I think everyone else.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
It's tragic, yes.
Everyone else has these, but this is the full story. So,
Thank you.
so, and they're asking, about waste, owners not cleaning up, other concerns. So these are the questions that really are, and then they're trying to get people in the neighborhood to form a group to deal with the dog park issues. So one of the big issues is funding, and so a dog run is probably, or a dog park is probably somewhere in $500,000 range. It probably is higher than that, but depending on how fancy, maybe from $500,000 to $750,000.
Just to fence it?
No, unfortunately, dog waste is very bad for the environment. And so it's bad for the local environment, but it's also bad for the people who live around the area. It becomes very smelly, right, we've had a lot of rain this year, so we've been very lucky. But it becomes very smelly. I mean, it's not a healthy place to be. So they line it with special plastics to protect the ground, because all the tree roots are down there and living creatures. It's part of our ecosystem. And then they put in special absorbent material. So it's like a litter box, basically. It reduces the amount of scent in the air and absorbs the waste. And that has to be replaced every once in a while as well. And then in terms of, and then the fencing, right? And sometimes, I don't know, you need some water, a water resource as well, so you can clean it. So all of those factors, Brower Park in particular has very little plumbing. Whatever plumbing was there was built over. So it has all of 2 water fountains that have water pipes going to it. So Brower Park may or may not be a good place for a dog run. I mean, it's really about rethinking the whole space and what's used and what isn't used, what people really want in the whole community. So they're asking for suggestions. I think the biggest issue is having a group that will fight to have a safe place for their dogs, and not fight for the status quo, which has really become a safety issue. I mean, just to go through that, in the last 9 months now, my dog was attacked twice. The last time he was killed, the first time it was not during off-leash hours, and someone had their dog off-leash, and we were not near the other dog. We were walking on a path, and the dogs were leashed. And the last time when he was killed, we were out on the sidewalk because I don't come into the park anymore, because it's not safe, thinking that the sidewalk would be safe. And we walked by one of the wide entrances, and a dog came running out of the park and leapt. So I lifted Ralphie in to save him, and the dog got me and Ralph. And I think Ralphie was probably instantly killed. So, thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Yes. So I would say for me personally, I'm sort of in I'm chair of Friends of Brower Park. I have a dog owner, and I live across the street from the park. So I can't really avoid the park, because when I come out my door, the park is there. So my issue really is now one of public safety, that I understand that as a dog owner, we all want a place for our dogs to run and socialize, but as a resident, I want the discretion to not do that, and I'm not really been allowed to. Parks, there's been a lot of pressure on parks to give space to dogs to run, and that's a wonderful thing, except not every park is designed to do that, and unfortunately Brower Park is on the sidewalk, it's really on the street, and you want the parks to be open and inviting. So, there's not an easy solution. I think the issue is that the Parks Department is making an attempt to ask people, to do a survey, to ask people what they want. We have too on this, a survey online that is a little bit more open. We're asking people to give their experiences walking in the park. I didn't want to put in all these questions to sort of to control how people were asking. I left it open. So I have policy issues, which is, we should stop off leash until we have an enclosed area. I mean, that's the only thing. We should look at dog licensing and find a financial stream of funding to protect in terms of liability, because most people, I mean, in both cases now, the owner of the dog walked away. So there's, you know, to cover liability, and court issues, but I think the most is to fund more green spaces and dog spaces, so that everyone is happy. So we need funding for that. Everything goes back to having an active group that will fight for that. And as a conservation group, I don't know if I want to take on doing all that work, because even after you have a dog run, you still have to maintain it. Tompkins Square Park does a dog run, and they fund it by doing a Halloween parade, a dog parade. Right. And other parks do the same thing. They tend to have an active dog owner group. So it would be, we've tried to do this, the Parks Department has tried to do this before here, and has not succeeded in following through.
Well, let me just say this, as a dog owner and a resident, I have found myself to be uncomfortable taking my dog through the children's area to get to the white space, because there have been a group of people sitting in that area along the benches inside, and someone had a dog loose, and the dog just sorts of like runs around. And so this, to me, is very funny, a large dog, you know. So when I walk in there, and I do go through there, because my dog will do quicker in certain areas than she will in others. And so I look very carefully to make sure that that dog is not there. Then I have seen people take their dogs, once they get in there, take the dog off the leash so the dog can walk freely into the other area, which is, you know, very disturbing, particularly since it's not the time when the dog should be off the leash. But there are people who don't follow the rules, you know, and then there you are.
And the issue does become who has the loudest voice politically. People, there are very well-formed organizations to support the dog owner interests, but there aren't any real organizations that are supporting the non-dog owner interests. So if you want to use a park and you want to just put out a blanket and not be disturbed, you have no. So I think that this is the opportunity for everyone to weigh in. You know, whether you have a dog or not, it's really about does everyone want and how do you want to use the park? And do you want times where you don't have to worry about a dog wandering around? The police, in this case too, have been doing a lot of policing, but that's only going to go so far. They can't keep it up. As Shirley said, they're taking police from one place and moving them to another. And they just don't have the resources to police the park all day long. So it is, I think, right now for the community to speak out and say what they want, so that resources can be, and this is mostly for the political, or all our elected officials, to hear that voice as well. They're hearing about, you know, dogs needing socialization and exercise, but they're not hearing about people and children and families who want to use the park in their way. And I think somehow we can all come up with a solution that allows us to do both. And usually the solution is an enclosed space that's relatively well designed so that people can sit and socialize while their dogs run and socialize. So that's the.
Okay, thank you, Robin.
I do have.
Anybody have any comments?
I mean, I want to say, and you touched upon this a little bit, but there are always going to be people who, you know, don't follow the rules and who aren't interested in an enclosed space to run their dogs. I'm concerned about enforcement of any policies or anything that we put out regarding off-leash animals. And you're right, if the police department can't pour resources into making sure that people don't keep their dogs on the leash, and that means if my kid is riding his scooter around the park, he could potentially get chased by an animal. And that scares me. That's happened to me before when I was a kid, and it's terrifying and very dangerous.
It has happened in the park, I saw it.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize how scary their dogs are, and you don't know them.
I mean, just last year on the street, Jaden got bitten by a dog, getting off the car, and my friend was visiting from France with his teenager, and a dog bit him,
Oh my
bit
gosh.
him, and he almost went to the ER. He had to, I mean, just because the dog was left on the sidewalk unattended. And then, and then the guy just ran off, and we didn't even know, like, it was crazy. So I don't know. It's not our daughter didn't get any.
I know, I mean, I'm thinking about this because I walk with our daughter Joyce through the park on our way going to school every morning at like 8 in the morning, which is technically when people can have their dogs off leash through there. And like, it's probably a stupid thing to be doing. People should not walk through the park. Or it would be much nicer if the dogs were behind the fence. It's kind of fun to see the dogs playing, but it's also not the safest thing to do.
Then we can buy it.
You know, you just, you just don't know what a dog is going to do, what a dog is going to react to, any dog. You know, it's not just big dogs, small dogs, but any dog. They're fine with you, but you don't know, and so many dogs are adopted that we don't really know their backgrounds. I have a dog like that who I would never take off leash, because he was not well treated. And so I don't know what would trigger his behavior, so I make sure he's not with children or alone with children. So I think that unfortunately not every dog owner is aware that the dog is a potential risk to someone else. Not that it's going to happen, but there's potential there for something to trigger some bad behavior.
And
Also, some of the
unfortunately-
places give dog training too. It doesn't hurt to, even after you've had a dog for a period of time, to take them back for a sort of a review course, because sometimes they forget some of the things they learned when they were younger, or because of adaptive behavior changed it, you know. So that would be another opportunity for dog owners and dog lovers to sort of protect their dog and protect the dogs and children and people in general in the neighborhood.
Right, and I think, I mean, we're talking about people getting, you know, but dogs too feel trauma, experience trauma. So dogs being attacked by other dogs can't be a very pleasant thing for them either.
And you know, there was a story just last night about a dog that was on leash, that broke off the leash and attacked a kid, a teenager. And they showed how he had all these bites and stitches that he had to get because this dog broke off the leash. So sometimes having a dog on the leash is not always the answer. You have to know your dog, really know your dog. And if it's an aggressive dog, my solution, well, my thoughts are that the dog should have a muzzle. You know, with the muzzle, he can't really get to it. Right, you may try to attack it out.
But also, if you know your dog, you know, for example, I know that Fudge does not like pit bulls. I know that I don't like pit bulls. Pardon anyone who owns a pit bull. But the point is that when I see a pit bull coming down the street, my reference is cross the street, back up, go the other way. It's not, you know, sometimes, self-defense is the best defense. And so that I don't want him to have that confrontation because I already know he's had a fight with a pit bull. And I already know that the hospitalization, the cost to the doctor was $300. And the owner of the dog didn't pay that, you see. So the point is, and of course, Robin, I'm sure you mentioned the $16,000 that you had to pay for your little one.
Well,
Or did you?
Yeah, well, it was a $20,000 bill from January. He was just recovering from that attack when he was attacked again. And in terms of being safe, you know, I was after that first attack, I was walking them after, off-leash hours to be safe. And now, in the second attack, I've been walking them outside the park to be safe. I mean, you know,
You took
where
a
do
lot
I,
of precautions.
where do I go next? Now I know, you know, I walk in one direction on my block and up towards Eastern Parkway to just distance us from the park.
And to say nothing of the anxiety that you feel as you walk your dog.
I'm always now, yes,
I mean,
and
that's incredible, because it should be a pleasant adventure for you and your dog. It should be exercise for you and for the dog. But then they have to have the complication of, you know, feeling anxious, you know, who is coming around the corner, or, it's,
I'm hiding behind barriers when I see, I mean, with my little, so yes,
Yeah.
and I'm having flashbacks because that dog had me as well as Ralphie. So, you know, that's gonna take a long time. So I think again, you know, it's that it's a measure of risk. I think that, it's okay, I mean, I don't know, it's okay if people want to take the risk and have their dogs in a circle. But I think that that's too much risk. I mean, from my experience right now, I don't think that the socialization or the, you know, warrants. And I can exercise, I can walk up to Eastern Parkway and I can go in other directions to, and Bo is also suffering trauma. So I can't leave him home alone. He just goes crazy. And he just wants to be with me all the time. So it's, you know, so it's upset a whole family. So
well, whole community. We're upset with you.
yes, you are, and I thank you for that. It's been wonderful.
There's no pet licenses in the city whatsoever?
There are, every dog has to be licensed, and if, in the park, if you don't have your dog, if you don't have papers or the license, they can give you a summons. The dog that killed Ralphie was checked because he bit me, not because he killed Ralphie. And apparently his license was up to date, and he's back with the owners. They've done nothing.
Did you, because I heard there's a health insurance for dogs, did you have that? Because usually they didn't cover the $16,000 of the insurance.
No.
It should be.
I didn't have health insurance. Again, you know, it just gets expensive.
Cause
So,
yeah, my coworker has health insurance and I think it costs like $50 a month and it's covered.
Is there like, I was curious because I don't know, but is there some sort of law, like, against the people who walk away after these attacks?
no.
You
There's
would
no-
think it's a
there's
hit
no
and
law-
run.
There's no law against that?
No.
That's
Apparently.
crazy.
Yeah, there's hit and run in a driving situation.
That's
You know,
right.
there
You
should
can,
be
you
also-
cannot watch your dog attack somebody and walk away, and
Yeah.
that's not against the law?
No.
That's insane.
Well, didn't they have to chase the person who killed Ralphie?
The person who gave us a lift to the hospital had a friend who was still in the park, and
They
he
should be
chased.
charged or something, like, that's.
No, but
That
you should
has-
have been paying for the entire thing actually, and you can identify him,
I know who she is.
so why should she pay?
Well, the last one I didn't know.
Ah.
The one in January, she walked away as well.
Hmm.
By the time I picked up Ralphie and was looking at him, she had disappeared.
So you don't have her information at all?
Not, for the last attack, yes, but not
Oh.
that other one. And that's the,
$16,000,
it's enormous.
Also for that person not to, you know, feel anything for your situation.
This
and
is
what
They
their dog
probably
did.
felt, but they were fearful. That's probably what it was. Fear of their dog being taken away or whatever, you know.
But I've seen the dog being walked, and it's not muzzled, it's, you know, it's on
Is
the
it
street.
what kind of dog?
It was a brindle, pit bull mix, I would guess. Anyway, so we're having a meeting, November 27th. here in the museum. Eric Adams, Borough President, did call me, which was quite lovely. And he's going to have his office, and hopefully he'll be there on the 27th, to begin a discussion about dog policy. And that since the number of dogs having increased almost geometrically in the city, that we need more policy, more rules about governing owners and in terms of their responsibilities to other people and their dogs. I think that's an important meeting to go to start the discussion. It's going to be borough-wide. We have also, you're free to fill these out from the Parks Department. We have a survey online at friendsofbrowardpark.org.
That's going on right now in the park, right, so that they were
Well,
suggesting.
that's a separate one. And I don't know why they're doing their own. But, I mean, it would be nice to do it together. But it's all similar information, so whether you fill this out, it would be good to have it online if you do that, because we're going to take all of that information and make it public, so that everyone sees what people are saying. We won't have your name on it, obviously, but at least we'll get a sharing of ideas. So that by the 27th, when we have the meeting, people will have sort of an understanding about where the community is in terms of dog policy. And that URL on the poster, the flyer, will get you there if you want. But it's also important to come to the meeting. I think there are people who simply just like status quo, they're just comfortable with it. But I don't, and I think I think that really only tells a small part of the story, that there's a larger community that has other points of view, and we have to get those all sort of merging together.
I think it's so important that we have a proactive approach to it, as opposed to, laying back and sort of resigning yourself to whatever happens. So I think that your approach is very good and important.
I also need to get people to think about it a little deeper. I have to say, first of all, I'm so sorry for what happened to Ralphie, and it's a horrible experience, and I'm so sorry you had to deal with that. I did the survey online. I had to think about it for a little while. Just coming from the perspective of someone that doesn't have a dog, but who is a parent, I use the park all the time. My kids are in the playground. I want to send my kids around that little circle on their bikes and scooters by themselves, and I don't feel that comfortable doing that right now. And initially I thought, well, we need to prioritize fixing the playground rather than getting a dog run, and I think there's a lot of parents that would feel that way, but then just thinking about, keeping the dogs inside the dog run and keeping our kids out of, dog waste and out of danger from dogs, I, thought about it from that perspective as well.
There are two places
It is a
that they're not
priority.
supposed to be. Dogs are not supposed to be in the playground,
Right.
and they're actually not supposed to be in the park area, the sitting park area, technically, right? I know that we walk through there.
Ralphie, Ralphie, Ralphie.
You're not actually supposed to have dogs in there.
In the
Ralphie, 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 Ralphie. R-A-L-P-H-I-E, R-A-L-P-H-I-E. Ralphie, 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 Ralphie. Ralphie. Ralphie, 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 Ralphie.
Worry about dog waste.